Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Here.
Councilwoman DePena is not here at present time. Councilmember Graziano?
Here.
Nattari?
Here.
Rovell?
Here.
Strumelob Burke? Mayor Melham?
Here. Sunshine.
Pursuant to the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting was published in the Thursday, February 3rd, 2022 editions of the Belleville Times and Star Ledger. A copy of the annual meeting notice has been posted on the Belleville Town Hall bulletin board, and copies are on file in the municipal clerk's office.
Next, we have a special guest that we've invited and arranged to come and lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance to open up our meeting. We have retiring, outgoing Deputy Fire Chief, Frank Papiani, 34 years of service. This will be his last week. Friday's the big day?
Correct.
This is his last week. We've invited him to come today at our council meeting and preside over the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Papiani. Thank you for your 34 years of dedicated service to our township, especially the Belleville Fire Department. We're going to miss you.
Thank you, Mayor.
But you're still in town,
Yes, yes.
so we're not going to miss you that much. We're going to see you now and done.
Good luck, Chief.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Good luck. For everything.
Moving forward, our meeting, we have next up on the agenda is the report of the manager.
Good evening, everyone, and first let me start off with my report by saying that a big thank you to our department heads that are here tonight. We've been working on the budget diligently, and we asked everybody to really roll up their sleeves this year to present the budget that we're presenting tonight. It's a budget that we're proud of to be able to present it to the council, something that we know that the council is endorsing, and certainly the benefit to the taxpayer is most important. But to all the department heads out in the audience, and will be available for any specific questions that may come up, we say thank you, and of course thank our auditor Joe Falcone and Mary, who's been a great support these last couple of weeks, holding it all together. So we say thank you again for them. My report includes, today I had the opportunity to go with Deputy Chief Corvo, and we went to, we went to the Junior Police Academy, and then I was very, very impressed. This is our 6th year, and we have over 50 future police candidates. Today's demonstration involved biking and motorcycling. It was really, really interesting, but to see those kids really enjoying themselves, it's a great program. I know Chief Corvo is not here today. Chief Minikini is not here today. But again, 6 years ago this was started. It's a great program. Real happy. Today also, I had the chance to stop at our camp. We have over 200 campers. Okay, it was a great day. Deputy Chief Corvo was able to get me over there for me to say hello. We have over 60 counselors. So between 60 counselors who may be future teachers, 50 future police candidates that might be police officers, and we also have some public works summer help, so that's pretty exciting, so we're happy about that. And I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge my BFF, someone for the last 3 years I've gotten to know him. Very proud to be able to say I'm very close friends with Deputy Chief Papiani. You can go anywhere in the state of New Jersey, and if you say that you live in Belleville or you work in Belleville, one of the first things they say is, do you know Deputy Chief Papiani? Because that's his personality. He's much more than a deputy chief. He's a friend. He's a friend to the employees and to the firefighters and to the employees. So things are fine. So Deputy Chief, I wanted to thank you for your 34 years of service.
Thank you.
Thank
you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is the report of the mayor. As always, I'd like to touch on some past events, some news, and some upcoming events. Past event, we had our first ever farmer's market. It was a windy day, but it was the first day. We got one in the books. We're going to be doing it every third Saturday. The next one will be the third Saturday in July, so forth and so on, August into September, right, Ben?
Yes.
So that was the farmer's market. Still information's on the website. If you want to volunteer, you want to be a vendor, please do so. Last Thursday, we had we had pizza with the cop. Our great police department is committed to community service and committed to getting in touch with the youngsters in this community and community involvement. Coffee with a Cop has been widely successful. We traditionally do that in the mornings. It was thought, well, let's do an evening event and see what happens. We wound up having to shut down the street in front of Algieri's Pizzeria. It was an absolute great time. Kids loved it. I know the owners of Algieri's really enjoyed having the police there and having the children there. It was a great time. Looking forward to the next one. Just some news. You heard now for the third time, Deputy Chief Papiani is retiring after 34 years of dedicated service. I just want to again thank you for your service and make sure you enjoy your retirement and many, many more good years to come, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Yesterday, if you saw on social media, I had welcomed Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill here to Belleville. She does not represent Belleville right now. We currently have Congressman Albio Series, but you may know that we've been redistricted both at the federal level for Congress and also at the state level for our legislative. So you might be more familiar with State Senator Teresa Ruiz and her two assemblywomen that serve with her. Unfortunately, we're losing the three of them. They got redistricted out, or we got redistricted out. Somebody got redistricted out. But they're going on to represent other townships, so we will no longer have them. We don't really know who our state representatives are going to be yet, but we do know that currently Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill represents the district that we will have next year. She's up for re-election. Might be confusing because you've never seen her in Belleville, but she's up for election this November in Belleville. You'll have the opportunity to potentially vote for her. And for that specific reason, I invited her here for a chat. Myself and the manager had some time with her in my office. We then went for coffee, wide-ranging conversations. I posted about it. Feel free to check it out. I did invite her to this Friday's 4th of July, short notice. We're hoping she can make it because she has to get familiar with Belleville. We're going to do a tour next with concluding with dinner at the legendary Belmont. Come to Belleville for the first time, you got to go to Belmont Tavern. So that's where we're going at the end of our tour. But that was yesterday. We also recently opened up the First Tee program in Belleville. County Executive Joe D does a great job with parks, specifically all parks. But here in Belleville, the Hendricks Golf Course, $5 to $6 million renovation. Now the First Tee program, 500 local children can get free access to golf. That means access to the greatest equipment. That means access to training with professionals and also facilities. Absolutely stunning program. We only have 150 people in there right now. Those are kids from surrounding town. Maximum capacity is about 500. So you want to get your child in. It's not just golf, by the way. It's also life skills. They teach a lot of life skills go hand in hand with golf. I would definitely check that out. You heard a little bit from the manager that our Junior Police Academy is now up and running. One of my favorite weeks of the year. Traditionally, I'm there at the end for graduation, which will be this coming Friday. I saw some social media videos today from the police department. Always love doing that. And on our agenda tonight, you'll see a resolution. Really, it's just a resolution in support of the AG's directive to allow police departments to once again pursue. If you read that or we have discussion on that ordinance later, you'll come to realize that not in the far distant past, the AG's guidelines said that our police departments statewide cannot pursue. And shockingly, I don't know why they didn't expect this, but crime went through the roof and stolen cars went through the roof because of that. So now Attorney General has reversed himself somewhat on that. It's not our vote here on the council, is not an order to the police department. It just lets them know that we support the AG's directive, and obviously we support law enforcement and police. So we're looking forward to seeing that. Upcoming events, real quick. This coming Friday is our reorganization meeting. That is a real council meeting. It'll be right here at noon. This coming Friday is our annual reorganization meeting. Also Friday, what we have is 6 o'clock at the stadium. Unlike most years where 4th of July is on the 4th of July, I should say our fireworks, our independence celebrations on the 4th of July. This year it's Friday the 1st. So Friday the 1st, 6 p.m., all kinds of events happening, family fun. We have clowns, face painting, rides, food trucks, DJ, music, inflatables, all kinds of stuff going on at the stadium, Municipal Stadium Complex, starting at 6. If you're going just for the fireworks, I would probably get there around 7:30, 8 o'clock. Obviously, if you could walk or you could ride a bike or you could carpool there, we obviously suggest that. Fireworks will start at dusk this coming Friday. Monday, July 4th, we will keep our July 4th traditions. That means we start with yoga in the park. That's Belleville Park. 8:45 is the warm-up. We start our yoga session at 9 o'clock. We go about 45 minutes, from 9 to 9:45. Then we hightail it down to the Dutch Reformed Church for a ceremony there. Most people may not realize that the 4th of July is very important to Belleville. That's the date, the day that we actually got our name. And that proclamation or resolution, if you want, was read down at the Dutch Reformed Church. That's why that's always part of our annual 4th of July tradition. And then that's from 10 o'clock to about 11. From 11 o'clock, we run on over to the high school for the color run. So a lot happening on the 4th. You'll also see me probably crashing some barbecues after 2 o'clock. But that's going to be our 4th. Wednesday, just 2 days later, Wednesday, July 6th, is our first movie. So last year we touted our summer concert series, which the manager did a great job making that an entire summer-long series last year. Great bands every Thursday. Well, guess what? We're continuing that tradition. Every single Thursday, we're going to have a concert up at the high school. Every single Thursday in July, August, and the first week in September. This year, we've now added movies. We're doing movies every other Wednesday. Every other Wednesday. Go up to the high school, movie night. So we're now calling it summer entertainment as opposed to our summer concert series. But this coming Wednesday, July 6th, is the first movie, Encanto. We're going to gather around 7:30 every week. The movie will be at dusk. Concerts, like I said, this coming Thursday, next Thursday, July 7th, the day after the movie, is a first concert. It is a Beatles tribute band. Something I'm very excited for, looking forward to that. I'm going to say you're going to gather around 6:30. Concert should start around 7. And again, Beatles tribute band, they usually do about 2 45-minute sets. Lastly, next council meeting is going to be July 12th. We only do one official council meeting in July and one in August, so the next one will be July 12th. But check the website out, and don't forget every single Thursday and every other Wednesday. That concludes my mayor's report. Next item on our agenda is special action, 2022 municipal budget.
Mayor, this is time, Mayor, this is the time fixed for the public hearing on the 2022 municipal budget. The budget was approved by the mayor and council on May 24th, 2022, and was advertised in full as required by law, together with the notice of this time. Mayor, I have a resolution regarding the reading of the budget by title. Whereas NJSA 48-4-8 as amended provides that the budget as advertised shall be read in full at the public hearing, or that it may be read by its title only if, 1, at least 1 week prior to the date of the hearing, a complete copy of the approved budget was A, shall be provided for public inspection, and B, shall be made available to each person upon request, and now therefore be it resolved by the mayor and council of the township of Belleville that it is hereby declared that the conditions of NJSA 48:4-8 as amended set forth in subsections 1A and 1B have been met, and therefore the budget for 2022 shall be read by title only.
I offer the foregoing resolution and move for its adoption.
That is a motion. We have a motion. I hear a second. We have a motion made and second to adopt the 2022 municipal budget. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg? Yes. Mayor Melham?
Yes. Resolution is adopted. Continue.
No, that's you.
Yeah. Before opening this hearing, I wish to outline the procedure. Each person desiring to be heard will rise and give his or her name and address before speaking. I will recognize one speaker at a time in order of rising, as nearly as I can determine. Address all questions to the chair. Whether necessary, they will be referred to the individual members of the Township Council and/or municipal officials. Questions must be confined solely to the municipal budget before us. School or county matters are not proper subjects for this hearing and cannot be discussed or answered here tonight. I now declare that the public hearing for the 2022 municipal budget is open. Do we have anybody for the 2022 municipal budget? Public speak. Mr. Frantantoni? Just make sure that microphone is on, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I hope after 4 decades, maybe tonight I'll get some answers. Specifically, I've never, ever gotten an answer from a council person who ironically is voting on the budget and doesn't really know much about the budget. Hopefully tonight you did your homework. Looking at the budget, first of all, the town manager says it's a good budget to the benefit of the taxpayers. It's a $5.4 million increase in our budget. Outrageous increases. We've never seen these kind of increases before in the township of Belleville. So I'll go on to my page by page. Sheet 3B, we'll start from the beginning. And once again, the public is given the budget to look at, and there's so many blanks and so many items that are not in there. On sheet 3B2, it says opt-out, 55 employees are opting out of the health benefits. Why don't we get any dollar amount? I've asked this every year. Mr. Picone says, I'll get back to you. Yet in all these years, I've never gotten a single reply from them. Can we get that amount?
Mr. McComb, just to make sure that your microphone is on, please, sir.
Okay. I don't ever remember you asking me for that particular number. Number one. Number two, this sheet is a sheet that's developed by the state. There's only certain information that you can put in, and the information that you requested is not in this sheet, nor will it be accepted in the sheet if you try to put it in the sheet. But looking for the number that you're looking for, the employees receiving waivers would be $82,500. It's on page 14 of your budget.
82,500. That's the total that those 55 employees are receiving?
Correct.
Thank you.
We're already doing better than the last 4 years. Do you have an answer?
What?
We're already doing better than the last 4 years.
Finally. Next, what is the total amount of retirement application? Now, we used to have in the budget a line item called analysis for compensated absence liability. And we'll get the dollar amount, what the public was on the hook for. The last several years, that has been conveniently
The state
left out of the
eliminated,
budget.
the state eliminated that sheet from the budget, so it's no longer required.
But do we know internally?
I'm sure internally it's known, but it's not in the budget document that you see.
You don't have that on hand?
I don't have it, no.
On sheet 9, we got acquisition of Washington Avenue property. So I guess when you're acquiring a property, you're going to pay for it. But why is this under anticipated revenue, $187,500?
I believe it was a grant, right?
Yes.
So we announced that when we made the acquisition of the proproperty that
I don't
we
see
were getting a
that
grant.
on sheet 9.
I don't see it either.
It's on sheet 9I.
I'm sorry, yeah, sheet 9, small I.
Acquisition, that's a grant. You'll find an offsetting appropriation on sheet 24 for that same amount of money. So it's a revenue and appropriation in the same amount of money.
That's state or federal grant.
It's not federal, state.
State grant.
And on sheet 10, the Belleville DOE agreement, $600,000 for what?
The $600,000 is an agreement with the Board of Education for a project, and that's the down payment.
That's the down payment on the money that we're bonding, which we had that conversation about, the major project where we're acquiring
The King Aluminum project?
the Easton or the university. That $600,000 they have to pay us as the down payment.
All right, that's a shared service agreement, you claim.
Correct.
All right. have you looked into, is this type of deal with the Board of Ed legal as to what the original intent of shared services was by the state?
We submitted everything to the Department of Community Affairs. They had no problem with any of the money that we either incumbent or anticipated.
And our bonding counsel was okay with it, they're a law firm.
They're actually doing it.
Okay, let's go to sheet 10, due from general capital fund for 21, due from water capital, $3.305 million.
Due from general capital, you mean? Due from general capital, 3 million.
General capital fund,
3 million.
$3.3 million, yeah.
That's money that the current fund had lent to the capital fund to do its projects, because the capital fund did not have the cash. We actually sold a note today to replenish the cash to the current fund for that amount of money.
So where did that $3.3 million come
It
from?
came from the bank. We had cash on hand in the current fund, but we didn't have the cash in the capital fund. The
So we
projects-
borrowed it?
We borrowed it from the current fund to the capital, and now we're getting it back. Got it back, like I said, today. There was a note sale today at noontime at $3.5 million, at which we got 3% interest rate.
We borrowed it from, I'm trying to get, from our own budget, the capital
Right.
budget with the capital.
We borrowed it from the general
Fund.
fund to pay for expenditures out of the capital fund. So the capital fund now owes the general fund at $3 million. The capital fund did not have the cash, because when we did the ordinances to authorize the project, we didn't go out and borrow the money. Today, now we went out and borrowed the money, so the capital fund can now pay back the general fund. It was part of the state's inquiry also, so we sent them the information regarding the note sale. Like I said, we had the note sale today, and we sold the note at 3.5 for 3%.
So it's more bonding, $3.3 million.
It's not more bonding, it's bonding that was authorized last year or the year before. But we never went out and borrowed the money. So we used our own cash. It's like, let's say you had a checking account, a savings account at home. You didn't have money in the checking account, so you took money from the savings account, put it in a checking account. Later on, you got the money, you put it in a checking account, and you wrote a check and put it back to your savings account, basically.
Yeah, I understand that, but then you said we sold the notes
Well, we sold the notes so we could get the money into the capital account.
from ourselves.
No, we sold, we had it out there for bids. We got 4 bidders, and we got the low bid.
So we bonded outside of our own budget.
Yes, yes.
It's outside bonding, so it added to our bond, another $3.3 million in debt.
Right.
Yeah. All right. On sheet 11, or I brought this up in the beginning, we show this year's budget, $76.2 million, last year's $70.8, $5.4 million increase, that's 7.7%. How do we get past the 2.5% cap? By raising the budget 7.7%.
The cap is based on the appropriations inside the cap. And if you look at sheet 19, that's the total appropriations inside the cap. And we're well inside the appropriation of the cap. As a matter of fact, I think we still have $3 million in the bank for the subsequent years.
Let's go to sheet 17, to buyout pay, $1,982,000. Now this was
What page?
17.
That was last year's.
Well, it wasn't in the 2021 budget.
It's in the 2021 budget as an emergency. In an emergency in 2021, that was to pay back the retirees.
Well, one of the columns says this for 2021, it was modified by all transfer.
That's what I said. If you look at the budget itself on page 17, there's nothing in the 2021 column. In the next column, it's by emergency appropriation, and that's where the $1,982,000 is. It's by emergency appropriation, which the council adopted, and then it's in a modified budget for the $1,982,000. Of the $1,982,000, we spent $1,980,000.
When I questioned it, we went out for a bond for this amount, $1.9 million to pay for retirements of some firemen, some policemen, and some public employees. I questioned that bond at the time, $1.9 million. So now what is this?
That's it.
Is this
That's
the
it.
money from the bond?
That's why you issued the bond to make this good. And we raised that over a 5-year period. So 1/5 of that will be in the next 5 years' budgets, including 2022.
But this 1.9 million shows up as the anticipated revenue
No,
in
it's
this
not
year's
a
budget?
No.
Why
It's
is
an
it under
expenditure.
anticipated revenue on sheet 17?
Share 17 is appropriations, expenditures. It's got nothing to do with revenue. Revenues up through page 11, from page 4 to 11 is your revenues, from page 12 to 29 is your expenditures. This is an expenditure.
We borrowed 1.9, that cash went into the budget.
Right.
All right. So,
And now for the next 5 years, you'll be paying back that 1.9.
yeah, so again, that's offsetting that so-called $39 tax increase. And also the interest on bonds for 2021 was $61,000, $775. And for 2022, it jumps up to $629,915, more than a 10% increase. That's a lot of interest. Do we do that much bonding? To increase more than 10%?
What page are you on, Mr. Fernandino?
Sheet 27 says interest on bonds, and you got the 2 years. You paid $61,775 for 2021, and 2022 it jumps up to $629,000. 629,915, almost 630,000.
I don't have the amortization schedule with you, we'll look that up, but we can get back to you, explain it to you. Because that comes right out of the financial statement, which gives us the obligation that we're obligated to pay. We have $2,029,000 in bonds.
Joe, if it helps you at all, the line underneath that, the interest on notes is actually down 300,000, 400,000. 400,000.
Or we may have had, we had a bond sale in 20, we had a bond sale in 2021. So that represents the interest on the bonds for 20, that we sold in 2021, but the principal is not due till 2023. So when you see the 2023 budget, you'll see the results of the bond sale, where the principal will go up and the interest will be inconsistent.
Joe, if you look at the first line there, payment of bond interest, payment of bond principal, it actually goes down.
2,029. No, in other words, that was obligated, that was debt that we already had outstanding. We had another bond sale in 2021, but the bonds that we sold in 2021, the principal isn't due until 2023. But the interest is due, half of the interest would be due in 2022. So that's why the interest is represented here, and the principal you'll see next year will also increase.
So we're doing a lot of bonding, and it's cost taxpayers a lot of interest. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was thanking the council for putting us in debt. Sheet 28, special emergency authorization, $669,200. What's that for?
That's the 1/5 to the 192.
That's the first payment on that bond? All right, now let's go to the now infamous water budget. Last year, I brought up publicly, we didn't need that outrageous increase in our water rates. And just to compare what you actually did, I went through the water bills, my water bills, and I was fair. I took the last 4 quarters before the increase, and my total bills were $305.76. And then the next 4 quarters, after the water, $592. $286 increase. So we didn't get a $39 tax increase. I actually got, between the water rate and that, $325 tax increase. My business, my laundry, Last 4 quarters, $2,849. The next 4 quarters, $7,558. An increase of $4,708. And other businesses got whacked with the same amount. So I didn't get a $39 tax increase there either. I got $4,708 plus the 39 was $4,747 increase. And it's a tax increase because it's right there in your budget. The water utility is part of your budget, and that's how you raise it. Now, that being said, here's what you did with the money. First of all, Mr. Iacone, when he made his report in February, I believe, he showed up on the screen, we took in about $8 million in what they call rents or water bills from the previous year, a little over $5 million. And that's why we had this huge increase. It wasn't necessary. I contend, and I accused you last year, you used that water increase to subsidize your budget, to make it look like the tax bill was very low. But then you got operating surplus. The last 2 years it was zero. Now you got $500,000 in the water utility as a surplus. So you took that from our excessive water rate increases. Then you got group plan for employees. Now I've got 40-something years of budgets. I go back and last year was $17,000 because the group plan, under the water budget, you only supposed to pay for employees who actually work on the water system, not other employees. So $17,000, I look back on years and years, it's always around that much, $16,000, $17,000, $19,000. This year, from $17,000, it jumps up to $463,000, almost $500,000. Now, why is that?
A lot of employees working on water department.
This is just a group plan for the health insurance.
So we have a water department, we have men and actually women that are identified in the water department. And for instance, I can give you an example. Mary is our tax collector, so you would see her salary show up in tax collector. But we charge a portion of her salary to the water budget because she does water work. So again, the true number is exactly what we're showing, okay? Because if you take the men and you take their salary and wages, and you take their health benefits, pension, social security, the numbers don't lie. They come out exactly to what we're presenting today.
That's the answer I've gotten in previous years. But it hasn't been this kind of increase. If it's gone from 13,000, we added some more people working on it, we have more water break-ins and all, and we went from 16,000 to 20,000. Never has it gone from 17,000 to almost $500,000. So are you putting other employees who work for the town, are you putting their costs in the water department so it makes your general budget look a little lighter?
Or Mr. Frantantoni, those employees who should have been included for many, many years were never actually included. That's the other option.
Well, if I could, Mayor? Sure. The total salaries and wages in both the water budget and the municipal budget was $28,325,000. $27,439,000 was in the municipal budget and $885,000 was in the water budget. The water represents 3.13% of the salaries and wages in total. The insurance bill that we got for the health insurance was $17,393,000. 3% of the $17,393,000 was the $463,000 that you see in their budget. And that's how we allocated all the insurances with the exception of the general liability insurance. The general liability insurance we took as a percentage of the total municipal budget compared to the total water budget, and we allocated 10% of the other insurances to the water department. True, that was not done in the past, but it's being done now in the future, and it should be done consistently going forward in the future.
Well, I'm glad you said that. It wasn't done in the past, and that's exactly what all my budget showed. Because the general liability last year from the water utility was $0, and this year, $225,000. The interest on bonds, I guess for the water department, was $15,000 last year, and that jumps up 500% to $85,700. So, the public employees retirement system for the water was $0 last year, goes to $28,000. The Social Security, $0 last year, goes to $69,000. So what I'm contending is that you're using that water rate increase to subsidize the
Mr. Frank
general
Antoni, you've
budget.
been repeatedly told tonight that that's not true, though.
Well, the figures don't lie. I know what you said,
The
it's not
option
true,
is,
but these are budget
historically, it's never
figures
done correctly.
in the
Now
budget.
it's being done correctly, where all the employees that work for water are being allocated to that budget.
It doesn't add up. It doesn't make any sense. I've gotten the same answers.
Mr. Facone just outlined how much our insurance costs, how much percentage that is of our water budget, and the number is exactly correct.
No, they're correct to what he says, but they're not correct with historical, what we've had our historical
Historically, it's been wrong.
budgets going up and all.
We've repeatedly said now that historically, all the employees in the water department were not allocated there. Now we've corrected that, and they are.
The group plan for the employees of almost $500,000 is a lot more, in my opinion, than employees who are working on the water system.
But your opinion is actually wrong. As Mr. Facone said, 3.3%.
More, I think that's it, but once again, and this year also, you're proclaiming a $46 increase. You're not telling the people, they know because they see their water bills. So you raise the water bills to subsidize, to make it look like your general budget is lower, which is a scam,
Understood.
perpetrator of fraud on the taxpayers.
Thank you. Any more comments for this budget?
No.
Thank you. Josh?
Aaron Charles, 95 Bell Street. I got the sheet numbers to make it easy for you, okay? Sheet number 10. Clerk's office, paid or charged 51,000, then is appropriated 60, that would double the number. Any reason for that?
I'm looking at sheet 10, I don't see it.
I don't know. Here, you can have, look at my sheet.
Is it really sheet 10?
Sheet 12.
That's what I got the first paragraph.
No, it is, I have sheet 10 over here in my hand, that's, got them out of order.
Clerk's office, where are we?
That's what happened, I put them out of order.
I'm going to take a stab at this one, but Joe can fill me in. On 2021, didn't we have a retirement?
This is the other expenses. I think the money in there is for the election.
That's for the election.
Got it. Okay. There you go.
Answer that first, okay. Now we go to number 10N. Why is the library giving you money?
The library gives us money every year. It's basically what the town provides to the libraries for, they pay checks, they pay wages, snow removal, they pay for the,
Payroll.
I got it, no, I got the
Reimburse expense.
That's,
This cleanup charges, I'm assuming that's for vacant properties that we eventually get the money back?
Paying
You know, people that default on the properties and eventually when it's sold, we get it back?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought, so, okay. Number 13, collector's office, paid or charged $229, appropriated $271. What's the difference in the gap there? Now you're asking for $288. Is that any reason for that?
in the collector's office.
Yeah, well, yeah, line is 20-145, well, they're all that number. Here, Joe, right there.
It could be the interest. No, I got it right here.
salary increase of 2%?
All right, all right, let that go. All right, we're going to go to the next one, which is 15A.
15?
15A, the fire department. The fire department is just, you appropriated $9,235,000, you paid or charged $8,360,000, and now it's going down. Now, the reason I'm questioning that is because I did an Oprah on the fire department's table of organization. And from what I have here, I have 62, including the chief and everything. Well, it's gonna be 61. And then you have one part-timer. And what puzzles me here is that 40 firefighter, here, 1 fire chief, 2 deputies, 5 battalion, 4 captains, 8 lieutenants, 1 fire official, 1 prevention specialist, part-time official. We have, now, I know for the longest time, for the last 30 years at least, the table of organization was approximately 70 to 72. So if I'm reading this right, you're saying you're going to be working with about 8 less firemen? Is that correct? And you're not hiring anymore? Because I know there's a list out there, and I think another list is coming out next year. So
Every
how
other
are you going to
department-
fund it if you need 8 more
Every
firemen?
other department, you complain that there was an increase, now you're complaining there's a decrease in the fire department.
Public service, you know, there's certain departments you will complain about, but certain, this is totally different. So what are we gonna do next year when you want to hire 8 more firemen? Or let's put it this way, do you have any in the academy right now?
We have 3 getting ready to go to the academy.
All right, so you're still short. Yeah, I'm telling you what the numbers are for the last 30, I know those numbers by heart. 70 to 72 is the table of organization with the fire department. That's a critical department, you can't just say that any department. So what are you going to get that money from next year when you need more?
Not exactly sure what the question was, I apologize.
Okay, right now you only have enough money for 64 firemen. Okay?
In this year's budget, which is the 2022 budget, we have enough money to get us through December, including the 3 soon-to-be cadets that will be going into the...
Yeah.
So we do have enough money in the 2022 budget. Come January of 2023, we will review it again.
All right, here, maybe, here, for 2021, you budgeted 9.2 million. It's an $874,000 gap there, but you're asking, like, what did you do with that?
Mario, if I can
Yeah,
interrupt.
Yeah, maybe Joe can answer that for me.
In the 9,235,000, if you notice in the modified column of that budget, you'll see it's 8,460,000. You'll see it's 8,460,000. In other words, we transferred money out of the fire department from 9,200,000 to 8,400,000. We only spent 8,360,000. This year we're spending 8,410,000.
And that's going to be based on,
It's based on what the fire chief
so
requested.
your tier of all is still under, you're still underfunded on that one, all right. Number 16. Other expenses, paid or charged 39,000, appropriated 142, now you're doing the same. So what's the difference in the gap there? If you only paid, you budgeted for 142, but you only used up 39.
Construction code. I don't recall what he asked for.
Is the department director here?
Nicole, by any chance, would you have,
Paul's been promoted.
Mario, basically what you're asking for on that, last year the fire department, they asked for 142, 175. Obviously, we didn't spend everything he asked for. This year he's asking for 143, 875. Now, there's obviously projects that he thought he was gonna do in 2021 that he did not do.
Is that for another hiree possibly?
No, that's other expenses, so it's got nothing to do with,
You could always move the money around, you know that.
in November or December.
Mario, if it's all right with you, I'll send you an email tomorrow.
Promise?
Right.
Gonna remind you of that.
Okay.
The next one, Mr. Frantantoni question, and so we'll leave that alone. I think I missed this one. You talked about on page 31, something about rent. What was that again? Anticipated and realized in cash. What was the rent?
That's the water, that's what they
That's
call
the
it.
water.
That's something to do with the water?
Yes,
That's
that's the water.
That's the term that they use, the wet water.
Is that, okay.
That's the state title rents, they don't call it water
No, but
usage.
you have the word runs here, that's one
Yeah,
question.
that's the state's terminology.
So we realized in cash 8.1 million. And now, so there's a little gap here. All right, forget about this page, go to page 32, the last one. Almost list. Okay. Same thing here in operating budget about paid or charged 61, and you allocated 138, now you're asking for 136. What's the reason for that?
That's the finance.
There's other expenses again, financial
Well, same thing.
administration.
They asked for the 138.7, but we only spent the 61. They were asking for the 136.850. They might not spend that either.
So it's a little bit of a surplus, you're saying, we could use those words.
All right.
Okay. A purchase of water, we already discussed that. That was paid or charged 3.9, transferred. Back, what is back bills to North, 700,000?
So remember the previous years when the rate raised and we didn't increase the water rate? So there's, the balance grew, and that's back money that we have to pay them, and we're gonna pay them over 3 years.
That gives us, of course, 3 years. All right, and the last one here is on the agenda. What is resolution to amend 3 and 4? What are they? After the public hearing, you have 2 amendments. So what are the amendments?
The amendment is one simple amendment. The state requested, in the audit report, we have $65,000 as a total expenditure of appropriation reserves. Financial statement we designated as a deficit. So it's just determined a change of terminology from a deficit to total expenditure.
Okay, just figuring you're going through the whole budget, then you reach.
Yeah, no, that's it.
Anybody else on this budget and this budget only? Sorry.
Good evening, Michael Sheldon, 47 Floyd Street. I want to start off, first question is sheet 3B2. In particular, the total amount of projected health insurance costs for 2022. According to the sheet, that number is $16,035,000. Out of curiosity, I looked at the same figures for the last 2 fiscal years. In 2021, it was $14,184,500. Year prior,
Yeah,
please, this is,
while somebody's got the floor, I do need everybody to remain quiet.
the year before, in 2020, the number was $13,983,828. Obviously, this is a huge absolute and percentage change in 1 year. I know that with the current state of the world, with COVID and what have you, perhaps there is a need for additional medical services. But first question I want to ask here is, how is this town providing health insurance to its employees? Over the years, I've heard contradictory things, that the town self-insures, that it goes out to...
The quick answer to your question is we do self-insure, but I need the questions to stay on the numbers of this budget.
So
You
it's
can ask anything else you want later.
So we still remain self-insured?
This year's insurance cost, just so the general public knows, and I'm glad Mr. Sheldon brought this up, we really try hard here to curb costs. As I repeatedly mentioned, there are less employees today than there were just 4 years ago. This governing body as a whole has reduced salaries, we've eliminated positions, yet when you get hit with a $2 million insurance industry, it just negates all of that, and you're seeing that as part of the reason why this budget is the number it is.
We have this common concern. You brought this up in the past, the rapidly escalating costs for health insurance. I know you're probably contractually bound, at least for the foreseeable future, to continue self-insuring, but I hope that at some point...
You can talk about all that later, but I do need you to stay on the numbers of this
All right,
budget.
but something I hope can be done
I
in
agree
the
with
near
you.
future to curb the health insurance costs, because that alone could really bankrupt us.
Totally agree with you.
All right. Moving on, sheet 5. Give me a second to turn to this page. Energy receipts, tax. I assume that just like is the case with Verizon and Comcast, the town gets back some money from what we pay for our electric and gas bills.
That's the state aid revenue. If you notice the bottom line on page 5 is $6,432,000 in each of
Yes.
the years. Well, each year the state takes money away from the consolidated municipal property and adds it to the energy receipts tax. Eventually, we'll have no consolidated municipal property tax, it'll all be energy tax. If you recall also, there was a bill pending legislation where the state should not be decreasing the consolidated municipal property tax, that this town should get it back. I don't know what the status of that legislation
Joe,
is.
actually, at the last council meeting, we actually adopted a resolution supporting that position.
Okay, so the position is, we want the state to pay, not only Belleville, but all the towns within the state, that money back. I think it was like $331 million or something like that.
So this money's coming from the state.
This money comes from the state, yes,
all right.
yes. And the numbers are certified from them, that's why you see that change.
Flipping to page, sheet number 10. There are the two line items as usual from cable, well, it still says Cablevision. Each year I tried to get this corrected. It's no longer Cablevision, it's Xfinity or Comcast. It still says Cablevision, and then Verizon. Then a few lines down from the cable lines, hospital. The amount penciled in here for both 2021 and 2022 is $470,850. Can you tell me the origin of that money? I assume that's coming from Clara Moss?
It's coming from Clara Moss, and that's the state legislation was like $3 a bed or something like that there. So the state, so we get from Clara Moss is $470,000 each year. And that'll be consistent until the statute changes.
All right. Well, what confused me here is that, as you probably know, last year, the town, last September, finally entered into a settlement with Clara Moss over...
Joe, I'm going to let the town attorney jump in on this one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, let me just explain to folks what I'm about to refer to. Last September 8, 2021, the town entered into a settlement with Clara Moss, and according to section 3 of this, it says in settlement of the tax appeals and pursuant to voluntary agreement provisions, chapter 17, Clara Moss agrees to make a contribution to Belleville in the total sum of $2,354,250 in 2 equal payments. The first payment was apparently made last fall, but then the second payment was supposed to be made, and that comes to $1,177,125, shall be made to Belleville after January 1st, 2022, and prior to April 1st, 2022. So I wanted to ask, where is that $1,177,000 reflected in this budget?
So I thought the question was going to be more legal. I'm going to leave you guys to jump in on that one.
Both of those checks that came in, and both of those checks are in the bank.
In the bank, but where are they?
They're not in the budget at all. It's the mayor and council have to decide how they want to spend that money, or what they want to do with that money. But right now, it's just in our bank account.
All right, so is it safe to assume that there are other monies
No,
in the bank account?
as far as I know, that's it.
All right, I just would like some clarification there. The 2 lines below, the Belleville Board of Education, this was, I think, asked by Mr. Franton Tony, and you said this was the first payment for the shared services agreement.
Down payment.
Down payment. I wanted to, where last, I think it actually, the agreement was last year, but the finances were worked out this year. The Board of Ed agreed to give the municipality $500,000 to help offset the municipal field project. Is that $500,000 in this year's budget, or was it in last year's budget? And if it's not in last year's budget,
This
where is
question is not about this budget though, but Mr. Iacona has a quick answer.
So you're referring to the lights, they're paying for the lights, and
Okay,
they may be paying them directly, that's what we're gonna work on.
all right, well,
That's not about this budget though, Mr. Felton.
all right, well, okay, all right, with the field project, the board agreed, according to the coverage, press coverage, $500,000. And then on March 28th of this year, the board has a resolution to send you a check for $200,000 for that lighting. So it looks like that you just explained the $200,000, but the $500,000 that the board agreed to chip in for the municipal stadium project, was that included in last year's budget, or is that, again, somewhere in this ether, in this budget, not yet posted?
So again, the project is not complete, all the bills haven't been paid, but we did get a commitment that they were gonna be paying for the additional lights that we added from the original scope. Didn't include some of the lighting that we added in, that was the agreement that we made.
You also have a promise from the Board of Ed to give the municipality another $500,000. If they haven't done so already, that's going to be a future payment from the Board of Ed to the municipality to help cover the $6 million projected cost for the municipal stadium project.
We have agreement that they were going to assist us in the additional lighting that wasn't part of the original scope.
All right, let me move on.
Thank you.
Some of these questions have already been asked, I'm not going to repeat them. All right, page 27. Mr. Frantantoni had asked about the very significant increase in the interest for bonds, but then Mr. Mellon pointed out that conversely, the interest on notes has decreased in the last year.
By $400,000.
The interest for bonds went from $61,000 last year to almost $630,000 this year projected, whereas the monies for interest on notes went from $771 last year to $351. Forgive me for my naivete, but could you, for my edification and that of the community, I assume I'm not the only one, could you, in layman terms, explain the difference between bonds and notes?
Notes are what they call temporary financing, and notes are issued for 1 year. Bonds are issued for the useful life of the project. So the bonds could be anywhere from 5 years to 40 years, depending on the project itself.
Okay, all right, thank you for that. It was my understanding that notes were used to pay back bonds.
No.
It's all right, okay, all right, thank you for that. All right, thank you. Sorry to bring up the water situation again, but I do need to ask once again. I brought this up repeatedly throughout the first 6 months of this year. According to the manager's report that you gave, Mr. Iacona, back on February 8th, last year the town collected $8.025 million in our water bills. But when I opened the financial records for water payments to Newark, according to your own financial records, you paid Newark less than $3.6 million last year for our water service, and included amongst those checks, I didn't bring the whole document here because it runs over 100 pages, but some of those checks were marked as back payments, which is that $1.6 million IOU. I still haven't gotten a credible explanation of what happened to that $8.025 million. You took over $8 million from us, you paid Newark less than $3.6 million. According to the quick back of the envelope calculation, that left behind $4.5 million approximately. So, now there's all this discussion about, well, there, some folks should have had their health insurance charged against the water account. I'm referring to page 32, which has already been brought up, the group plan for employees in the water utility budget going from $17,000 last year to $463,000.
Felton, is there a question that we
Yes,
could
there is.
address?
I'm about to ask that. If you do the quick calculation, it costs roughly $30,000 per employee at present for health insurance. So that $463,000 would equate,
Mr. Facone gave a very detailed answer.
yeah, but I.
Exactly
I'm
how
not
that number came to be.
completely satisfied. He said that, for example, our tax collector, some of her time is allocated for work, so some of that, her salary, her benefits were charged and are reflected in this 463,000, but that 463,000,
That's actually not what he said. He said that our entire bill's about 17 million, and they've allocated 3.03 or 3.3, 3.13%, and that comes to the $400,000 that you said.
well, again, the $460,000 would cover the health insurance for at least 16 full-time employees. So on that basis, things just don't really seem to make much sense here. I'm gonna have to go back, review the tape and study exactly what Mr. Facone said. It was difficult to follow the panoply of numbers that he was throwing out, but I just have still some issues with that. We'll pass over that for the moment. Going to sheet 39. Give everyone a second, to the people who have the full budget in front of them, to turn to this page, sheet 39. The second column, I know we're not supposed, school taxes and county taxes are not part of this discussion, but I do want to point out in the second column where it has the school tax numbers, which are part of the overall calculations here. In year 2021, you have 45,114,688. Year 2020, 44,269,221. Since the Board of Ed finances are somewhat near and dear to my heart, having been the financial chair.
Mr. Sheldon, you can talk about this during public comment.
I just want to give
You're not permitted to talk about this at this hearing. Just wait a few minutes and you can do it during public comment. You can hand it to him, but I need you to move on.
These are just the user-friendly, but with the actual budget numbers, they're at the top
I
of
do
the
need you to
second
move on with
page.
this question.
All right, well, just that the actual numbers, the school budget, the taxes actually realized by the board these last 2 years is much less than
I
what.
want to just say one thing right off the
Yeah.
bat. School is on a fiscal year, we're on a calendar year, so it could be the differential between a fiscal year and a calendar year. You have to convert this to a calendar year, or you have to get the numbers to convert this to a fiscal year.
Any more questions about this budget?
Yes, I do. Not quite done, almost. Actually, here's my last question. Everyone will be happy. Sheet 40B. 40B has listings of the, let this start to manipulate. It has the most recent bond ordinances approved by this council. The first one is the improvements to municipal and school facilities for $12.5 million. That's the shared services agreement with the Board of Ed. Then, at the same time you passed that ordinance, there was another one for $14.97 million for various capital improvements. Then another bond here for the construction of the municipal field and track project for $2.8 million. Then most recently, the replacement of lead service lines for $5 million, and at the last council meeting, acquisition and installment of water-related equipment for $125,000. You have, in 3 columns later, what the funds, what the charges will be for the first 3 bond ordinances, which total well over $30 million. $600,000 for the $12.5 million, $623,000 for the $14.9 million, and $40,000 for the $2.8 million. The thing that I want to ask here is, how are you making these projections? Because I've been on Emma every day, waiting to see the sale for these bonds. It hasn't happened yet. So these are hypothetical numbers.
Not hypothetical.
Well, without selling the notes and knowing what the interest rates are, how do you know how much it's going to cost this year for these 3 bonds?
None of this is reflected other than the first column, the down payment money is in the budget. The rest will be determined as we borrow notes or as we issue bonds. It's neither one has been done. But the down payment money is either in the capital improvement fund that's already on hand, or is appropriated in this year's capital budget. to satisfy the down payment requirement.
Down payment, but,
In other words, we haven't issued notes or we haven't issued bonds, and we haven't received the grant for the $2 million. So none of this is reflected, like I said, in this particular budget, except for the down payment money. The down payment money, $600,000 is coming from the board. I think we already had $495,000 in the capital improvement fund, so we only needed the differential between the $495,000 and the other $675,000.
but it is safe to say at this moment, we still don't know how much those bonds are
We'll know
going to cost.
we'll know what the principal is, but we obviously will know what the
Yeah, right,
interest is.
right. And with the sudden increases in interest rates being imposed by the Federal Reserve, there's all
Well,
the
like I
analysis.
said, we had a note sale today, it went 3%, last year we were getting 1%.
Well, that was for last
Yeah,
year's.
but regardless of what it's for,
Mr. Sheldon, you have another question about this budget?
you have a note sale every time you borrow money. And the note sale is dependent upon the interest rate at the time of the note sale.
All right, well, just keep our fingers crossed, because with the way things are going with bonds and the interest rates right now, those bonds, those 3 bonds alone could cost this township
A lot of money.
a
Thank you.
fortune.
Anybody else on
Well,
this?
no, just one last thing, and then I'll leave you alone for a while. Part of this budget, this is a question that does relate directly to this budget, and I brought this up in the last couple of council meetings. Obviously, this budget was introduced well beyond the deadline.
Not well.
Right.
Two meetings.
Well, it was supposed to have been introduced by March 31st, or the first council meeting thereafter,
So
which in
we
our
actually
case
missed it
was
by one meeting.
April
We did
12th.
2 meetings.
I missed it by one meeting, but
It
we
wasn't
missed
well
it
beyond, though.
by almost 6 weeks.
I got 9 questions.
Adjectives matter. It wasn't well beyond. You're allowed
You
one
missed
meeting
it.
after the deadline, we went 2 meetings after that.
You
We're only
know,
off by 1 meeting.
1,000 years is only one millennia, right?
Mr. Sheldon, just for your own personal information, I personally have 9 budgets that haven't introduced yet.
All right, well,
Okay?
what I'm leading up to is, at the last council meeting, Mr. Del Gershio asked a question about one of the resolutions, which was a deferral in the school tax.
There are specific questions
Yes,
about this
yes.
budget.
Yeah, it has to deal with the delay situation.
That's not, no, it's nothing to do with the numbers of this budget.
Just
You
bear
can
with me
talk,
for a
no,
second.
you can talk about that during public comment. All you want. You have 5 minutes to talk about that during public comment. If it's not related to a specific number or a page in this budget, I'm going to have to ask you to sit down so we can get the next person on.
I'll bring it up during
Sure.
public comments then.
Anybody else for this budget and this budget only? Yes. Kara?
I don't have this long sheet that everybody has. I only have the summary. So I'm only going to ask a couple questions on the summary. The first line of the summary of 221 says $800,000. Is that surplus that was carried over from 220?
$800,000.
This sheet. That I'm looking at. Oh, wait, she's giving it to you, so that way I can look at mine, you can look at yours.
That's last year's surplus, 2021. This year we have no surplus, so we didn't anticipate it.
What I'm saying is you anticipated that because that came from 220?
Right.
Okay. So now, I'm asking another question. And that is, according to what I'm reading here, the amount that's going to be raised by taxes, and I might be wrong, but it says that we're only going to raise taxes by $250,000. Am I correct? That's what this is saying on this sheet.
I don't have the summary in front of me.
Yeah, the taxes are gonna go from $55,875, round numbers, to $56,082.
Which is about $250,000.
That's right.
Okay. Now, I see how much is being raised by taxes. But on the line 2 of this summary, total miscellaneous revenue, it's going up by almost $6 million. Where is this extra money coming from?
That's on, if you had the budget, and if you looked at pages 4 to 11, you'd see where it's coming from. The bulk of it is coming from that interfund for $3,003,000, $600,000 from the Board of Education, $363,000 that we have as a reserve to pay debt. That's
What was the first thing you said?
$3,305,000 is an interfund that we talked about, from the capital fund to the general fund.
Oh, capital fund from the general fund, okay.
600,000 from the Board of Education and 362,000.
All right, now, when it goes to salaries and wages, which you would expect would be the big raise of the budget, it only shows an increase of about $25,000.
Shows a decrease.
It actually, there's a decrease.
Oh, wait, there's a decrease in that, I'm sorry.
Decrease in salary and wages.
Yeah,
because
salary and
we have
wages.
less employees.
I'm sorry, I was looking at the other one, the water bill, the water one.
Yes, just,
All
I
right,
just
this is down 100 grand,
salary and wages is down from the previous year.
of
and
about $100,000.
That is correct, we have less employees. and
Okay.
obviously-
But when we go to the other expenses.
We have less
We have
employees
less
today.
employees in this year's
When we go to
budget.
the other expenses, it goes up by $2.5 million. What is these additional expenses by $2.5 million?
Health insurance and pensions. the bulk.
That's what went up.
Health insurance went up $2 million.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, now, when we go to the water budget, it says here we're inheriting a surplus of $500,000? That's saying?
I don't know about inheriting, but we can.
Well, it says surplus, $500,000. And then the miscellaneous revenue is going to be another $2 million more than what it is now.
Right.
Am I correct? Or from last year? All right, and the same thing with the salaries. The salaries, I'm sorry, that's where it's up 25,000. But the other expenses is up by over 2 million. That can't be for the same thing. 2 million with the town and 2 million with the water. Can't be for the same thing.
Well, it's the purchase of water, which has gone up almost $1 million, or better than $1 million, and the health insurance went up about $700,000. That's the bulk of it right there.
For people that are under that.
Right.
Okay. Now, on the last thing on the bottom here, it says balance of outstanding debt. It says, or it looks like, the total debt in the town is just under $28 million. Am I correct?
Well, in total, yeah.
In total, that's what I'm talking about, in total, both water and general.
Right.
Now, when it's broken down by principal and interest,
Right.
I hope that interest is considered for the length of the time that the principal's supposed to be paid
Oh, yes,
off.
yes.
It is, okay, thank you.
Anybody else for this budget only?
Carmel Fleischman, 833 Main Street. First of all, I'm sorry, can I get a copy of this? I didn't know where we get a copy of the budget. How can I get a copy of the budget?
You could have emailed me and I would have sent it to you.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't realize. Thank you very much. Now, this is not approved yet, correct? It has not finalized and passed. This is about what the hearing's about tonight.
The budget has been reviewed by the state and approved for adoption tonight after the public hearing. If the council doesn't have any concerns as far as recommendations or amendments to make, the budget, I assume, will be adopted.
Okay. In crazy world, saying after looking over this budget, after it's approved, say a mistake was made. I'm not saying it was, but say a mistake was made. Will that be reflected in this year's
No.
adjustment, or it has to wait till next year?
Well, depending on what the adjustment is.
Okay,
If it's something that has to be spent, you'll spend it, but you'll have to raise it in next year's budget.
okay.
And on the opposite side of that, after this budget is adopted, we can receive federal and state grants and aids, chapter 159, and it allows us to put more money into the budget.
Okay, so once it's passed, that's your working capital every day, paying the light bill, paying the phone bill, example, and then if you get a surplus, that's how some years there's a surplus in the budget.
Correct.
Okay, and then what's the, again, I'm not sure if this is a bond or budget issue, sorry. What's the difference between a note and a bond? I'm sorry if it was already asked and
That
answered.
was already asked and answered, but Mr. Falcone, I think a note is the same year and a
Note
bond
is
is
generally 1
multi-year.
year, the note is the life of the issue.
And then you were saying something about selling bonds? What does that, I'm sorry, again, I'm not sure if it's an appropriate question.
When you introduce an ordinance, it authorizes the governing body to issue bonds and/or notes. Normally what you do, you would issue notes for 1 year at a time until the project is complete. Once the project is complete, then you go to permanent financing, which is the sale of bonds. The bonds would be used to pay off the notes, and the notes were used to pay for the projects that are developed.
Okay, so when you bond money out to, say, as an example, the warehouse that's being built on Main Street, once that property is done, that's when they start paying taxes, that's when you get that money back?
It's got nothing to do with that paying taxes. It's got to do with the payment of the project itself. Like I said, the town would borrow money to pay for the building of the warehouse or whatever it is.
Right.
But we're not building any warehouses. So let's just, if you have a question about this specific budget, if not, anything you
Okay.
want to ask, you could ask certainly
Yeah,
during
like I
public
said,
comment.
I wasn't sure if it was part of the budget. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else for this budget and this budget only? Seeing no other people, I'm going to observe that there's no further applicants on the floor. I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion made and second to close the public hearing. Clerk call the roll, just on closing the public hearing.
Yes. Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Natori?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg? Yes. Mayor Mellon?
Yes. Now we need a resolution.
Mayor, I have a resolution regarding an amendment to the budget.
The
Resolution.
clerk will read the resolution.
Resolution to amend the 2022 municipal budget. Whereas the local municipal budget for the year 2022 was approved on the 24th day of May, 2022. And whereas the public hearing on said budget has been held as advertised. And whereas it is desired to amend said approved budget now, therefore be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Belleville, County of Essex, that the following amendments to the approved budget of 2022 be made. A, general appropriations. B, deferred charges and statutory expenditures municipal within caps. 1, deferred charges, deficit in operations prior year, $65,699.64. 20, over expenditure appropriation reserves from $94,710.20 to $160,409.84. Be it further resolved that a certified copies of this resolution be uploaded to the pass system for the Director of the Division of Local Government Services, certification of the 2022 local municipal budget as amended.
I offer the foregoing resolution and move for its adoption.
We have a motion made.
Second.
We have a motion made and second. Clerk call.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Natori?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg? Yes. Mayor Mellon?
Yes. That's the amendment.
Correct.
Section
I'm
2.
out of instruction.
No, section 2.
No, I go now.
Section 2.
Mayor, I will read Section 2, the adopting resolution for the 2022 budget. Section 2, upon adoption for year 2022, be it resolved by the council members of the Township of Belleville, County of Essex, that the budget herein before set forth is hereby adopted and shall constitute the appropriation for the purposes stated of the sums therein set forth as appropriations and authorization of the amount of A, $56,082,836.60 for municipal purposes, and F, $1,134,654.86 for the municipal library tax.
I offer the foregoing resolution and move for its adoption.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion made and second. Clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Natori?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg? Yes. Mayor Mellon?
Yes.
Resolution's adopted.
Resolution is adopted. We're done with that one.
Now back to our regular meeting. Approval of minutes.
Regular meeting on September 28th.
Need a motion?
Make a motion. Second.
We have a motion made and second. Clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Natori?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg? Yes. Mayor Mellon?
Yes. Communications.
A request received from the residents of Lloyd Place to conduct a block party on Monday, July 4th from 1 to 10 p.m. B, request received from the residents of Rossmore Place to conduct a block party on Monday, July 4th from 2 to 10. And request received the Nutley Belleville Columbus Day and Italian Heritage Month Parade Committee for permission to conduct the Columbus Day Parade on Sunday, October 9 at 1:30.
Ordinances. Ordinances for public hearing, second and final reading.
Ordinance number 1 for public hearing, and ordinance to amend the revised general ordinances of the Township of Belleville, Chapter 8-2.9, parking time limited on certain streets.
Make a motion for open for a public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion made and seconded to open for public hearing. Clerk call roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Fine.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Melham?
Yes. We're open for public hearing on this ordinance and this ordinance only. Hearing none, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to move, close and move for final adoption.
Motion. Second it.
Motion made and seconded to close and move for final adoption. Clerk call roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Melham?
Yes.
Ordinance number
Ordinance 2.
Ordinance number 2 for public hearing, and ordinance to amend ordinance number 3641, creating permanent positions and adopting reclassification and compensation plans to delete a title.
Make a motion open for public hearing. Second it.
Motion made and seconded over public hearing. Clerk call roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Melham?
Yes. We're open for public hearing on this particular ordinance and this particular ordinance only. Seeing none, I'll explain it. We hear a lot about the budget, we hear a lot about costs, we hear a lot about how much money the township spends. This is yet another example of this governing body as a whole deleting a title. We will no longer have the title clerk for the Township of Belleville, which has a maximum salary of $87,000, which is not really the maximum when you factor in a 2% or 2.5% raise every single year for 20 and 30 years. This title is being eliminated. There will not be a position, clerical position, that reaches that amount of money in the Township of Belleville again. Motion made to close, move for final adoption.
Second it.
Motion made and second. Clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Melham?
Yes. Congratulations, council. Public comments, need a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made and second to open for public commenting. Clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Melham?
Yes. We're open for public commenting. I'll ask you to just raise your hand when you're called upon. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record, and you have 5 minutes to speak on what is hopefully town business. Mr. Droz.
Meredith Droz, 95 Bell Street. I think last time I was here, I was complaining about the parking study, and I said Carney is doing it. I took the time out because when I look at the master plan, I think the master plan, in my opinion, may be flawed because it didn't do a necessary parking study. Here's a parking study of cars that are parked all over town, stop signs. If you're going to continue letting cars park illegally, you might as well just change the law and allow them to park it. So this is for the planning board because I think they need that for review because that is an upcoming problem we're having in town with the...
I think that's more of a police department complaint you have.
No, that's for the planning board. The planning board didn't do their study. That's for them. You can do whatever you want with it. Because, and two of them are, and to add insult to two of them, they're parked in front of a stop sign, street cleaning. They don't get a ticket for the stop sign, they don't get a ticket for street cleaning, so that's 2 tickets.
Is that the planning board's problem too? Or
No,
is that
that's the council problem.
council?
Don't stop interrupting me because you keep stealing my
We
time.
can't
I'm getting
file
into
with the police department.
We're getting a number of problems here. But first of all, I think I think the planning board needs to review their, the illegal planning board needs to review the parking issues that we have and the upcoming problems that we're going to have here in town. Also, on the fire department, I still think I'm right when rumor has it that you're not adding any more firemen because 2 people didn't quite make it and they're looking to save them for the next test and hopefully they come out low. And here's another article for you. I don't know if it pertains to you, but it looks like mayor, ex-mayor officials about the illegal benefits. Mr. Manager, I'm sure you got that yourself. So are you legally... So what I'm saying is, if you're illegally collecting benefits, are you going to give it back to the taxpayer?
We're not illegally collecting benefits.
Well, I'm just reading the newspaper article, that's why I'm questioning it. Okay? There's another article here which I'm talking about development going on in the city of Newark, and it's probably catching up here. It's called Corporate Raiders. They're buying houses in Newark, small houses, single-family, multi-units, and they're raising the rents on people and creating the hardship. I see whatever's happening in Newark is eventually coming here with overdevelopment, because there is no affordable housing in Belleville at the rate you're getting these studio apartments, $1750. The ones by Naninos, $2,800 a month. With two
We
bedrooms.
actually, the state actually certified that we have met our affordable housing obligation.
I don't think we have enough.
Trenton is about an hour and 45 minutes that way.
I'm giving you my opinion. That's what you're doing. You give me your opinion, I'm giving mine. Okay, on the public comments here, that's the agenda. Resolution number 3, I still question the legality. It was mentioned, so I'm not going to go back in it, but I question this year's services because that just doesn't sound right. Explain resolution number 11 to me. I don't know what that means. And resolution number 8, why are you against just the party? Is there any reason you don't like it?
The resolution is actually a resolution asked for.
Resolution number 8, rather.
For it.
Hold on.
We're for it. We're authorizing.
Resolution.
It's authorized.
What, resolution 3 is the Board of Ed.
Right.
Yeah, that I said I question the legality on it. Resolution 11 is the energy.
Right.
Resolution 8 is just the party.
Right.
Authorizing.
Why are you making a judgment call that we're against it?
I'm asking you, are you against it?
Am I against just the party? I'm not a big fan of just the party, no.
Why not?
It's my opinion, like you
Oh,
said.
good.
You have opinions.
Yeah, I like that. But really, why don't you like just the party, or is it just the food trucks you like?
I do like the food trucks. I think
I
the
do
food
too,
trucks have
I
a
like
place.
them too. But we can have both, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Sure. So you don't want to give me an opinion about
I
this?
just gave you an opinion.
No problem, Mike.
Anybody else in public comment? Sir?
Yeah, you doing, Mayor? Michael Shapiro, 712 Geraldine Street, Belleville, New Jersey. I was here a couple times already. Spoke to Anthony a few times. I have three-quarters of an acre, almost 1 acre of property. And since 1998, I had the Belleville Police Department. They ordered me off the road from 9 o'clock at night to 6 o'clock in the morning. You can pull your driveway for a couple hours and get in, get out. I have a parking lot down in Passaic where I've been parking for over 20 years.
Sir, you know what I'm going to ask you to do, though? We've heard the story every single meeting for like 2 months now. Have you tried to meet with the manager?
I tried,
You telling us
but,
the story again is not going to change really anything.
Right, but I'm at like Part C now. What I'm asking is if I could try to get permission, if I could pull in my driveway for whatever, like an hour, 2 hours.
That's not something that we can grant you, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Your time would be better served dealing with the manager, the police.
Well, that's why I'm here. I want to address it once again, right in front of everybody. This way you can't say, well, I didn't address it. So, like I said, I'm paying almost $17,000 in taxes, and I'm asking for the right, if I could just pull in my driveway for an hour, 2 hours without getting a ticket. You know, I think, you know, like, the money I'm paying towards my taxes, I should be able to pull in my driveway.
I don't disagree with you. Is the police department issuing the ticket?
Well, no, the code enforcement, you know, and Belleville, the police department
So, Mr. Manager, I'm gonna believe that every single commercial vehicle parked in every single driveway in Belleville's been receiving tickets?
No, the police department gets a call.
It's not issued by the police department, it's issued by the construction department.
If a person makes a complaint is
It
investigated.
sounds to me like selective enforcement. I could drive up and down these streets and find
If
every
you
commercial
make a
vehicle.
complaint, I would expect that the person who makes the complaint, the person that receives the complaint, will do their thing. I mean, Mr. Shapiro wants me to guarantee him that he'll never get another ticket. I can't guarantee him that I'll never get. We have an ordinance. The ordinance says you cannot park commercial vehicles in your drive. So if somebody makes that complaint, I can't stop somebody from enforcing the ordinance.
Well, what I was told from the Belleville Police Department, you know, like I said, for over 24 years, I said, pull off the road. They don't have any problems with me pulling off into my own driveway. You know, they don't want me to leave my truck out in the street and they'll write me a ticket. So, like I said, I have a house, almost 1 acre of land. I got plenty, I haven't had any problems for 24 years. You know, I got plenty of space to park my vehicle. I'm just trying to see if I can get, if I come home late at night for 2 hours, if I can pull in my driveway.
I don't think we have construction code inspectors that work at night, and I think on an acre piece of property, if you were to
Right,
drive
I
in,
mean,
they probably aren't gonna see it.
You know, I already went through this, like with Part A, what it's really about, but I don't want to rephrase it all over again. So all I'm trying to do is try to get permission for, if I could pull my driveway for an hour, 2 hours. I have a commercial spot where I park for over 25 years down at Passaic. I just don't want to be bothered coming home late at night for an hour, you know, whatever, eat and go out, and I'm gonna get a ticket, you know what I mean? So that's all I'm asking for, you know, nothing
I
more.
understand.
I just don't want to, you know, I don't want to sound like a broken record. I just need, and like, I appreciate Yara, all the work she's been doing. I really appreciate
I need
it.
to address this board.
Roberta,
Sir,
I really
I do need
appreciate
to-
it. But I want to, you know, address it loud and clear so that, you know, if you could help me out, I would appreciate it. Once again, Anthony, if you could do something. I understand, you can't prevent anybody from writing a ticket, but the Belleville police, they have no problem with me. It's the code enforcement guy that's busting my chops. That's where I have an issue.
You might have other recourse outside this council chamber then, if that's the case.
Right, I appreciate it, whatever you can do, once again, Anthony. I understand you can't guarantee anybody writing a ticket, but the Belleville police aren't writing the ticket. It's the code enforcement that's going after me, so that's where I stand, and I appreciate everybody, you know, I voted for you, I voted for everybody here, and I hope that you can try to get something going. I appreciate it. Once again, thank you very much, Anthony, thank you.
Anybody else in public commenting? Mr. Frantantone.
You know, last meeting I brought up about the lead lines, you know, the $5 million bond ordinance for only 400 lines. And people were calling me, you know, some neighbors, some customers, they got very upset with that letter. They thought they had their lead lines. I went over the house, they don't have it. But then I looked at the letter I got again. You sent all those letters certified mail, $4.58. I said, all that expenses to tell people they had lead lines in their house based on the year the house was bought. That's a lot of money, $30,000, $40,000, right?
It's a state mandate that is required to send it out certified mail. We didn't want to do it, but we are required by the state to do it.
All right, but there's another way. We used to have water readers who would actually go to a house and read a meter, right? So you got 9,000 homes. We used to, every quarter, I think with 2 meter readers, we would read every house. Instead of sending this letter around, why don't we spend $30,000, $40,000, hire a guy to go to the house and physically see if there are lead lines?
Because it is a state requirement, it's a mandate that we send a certified letter. This, we're only doing what we're instructed and required to do.
The state mandate every household?
Yes, the houses that have been identified based on the scope of the age, they've required a certified letter.
Can you give me that statute or that mandate? I'll look into it.
Send me an email tomorrow and I'll have Tom Herbert send it to you.
Okay. Now, I keep telling others, and with these illegal apartments and the parking, it's getting horrendous. I know you all get the Observer, it's dropped off in your hallway, and you see the letters to there, even in Kearney and all. That I keep telling you, send out a notice. Here is the notice I wrote up. The one you finally sent out after years was this thing. It was an 1.5 inch strip of paper. Hopefully, the public can see it, but a big warning in the tax bill. It won't cost a single dime extra. Here's a copy of it. You put that in with the tax bills or the water bills or both, and let the people know they're jeopardizing themselves if they rent these illegal apartments. We can't park at all. It's even worse when street cleaning days, when all these cars are trying to park on one side of the street, it's horrendous. Not only that, the parking situation, these illegal apartments, there's more garbage. You see the one-family homes with the right amount of people living there, 1 pail, pail and a half. You see these other one-family houses with 5, 6 pails of garbage out there, which is costing us taxpayers the money. And once again, at the public hearing, I want to say again, we did not get a $39 tax increase. Last year, in my water bill, my tax on the 2 houses, I got a $5,033 increase, not $39. And finally, through the chair, Mr. Cosarelli, you're on the Historic Preservation Commission.
Mr. Frantantoni, you have to address the chair.
Well, you ought to read Robert's rules. I'm allowed to go through the chair. I
No, I
gave
have
you
to
the
grant
courtesy.
you permission to go
Well,
through the
that's
chair, and I'm not doing that, so you can address me.
Mayor Mello, may I have permission
No,
to
you can
address
address
my
the chair.
councilman?
Just make your comment, go ahead.
I'll answer.
You have a minute
Thank you
left.
very much. You're so kind. All these meetings, what are you preserving? I mean, it's years and years and years. There's 3 when I was on there, we were ready to go, the Dutch Reformed Church. This town hall is on the state and county list. All you need is final town approval, and then we'd be eligible for funds to do some maintenance on it and all that. The reservoir is another eligible project and all. What have we been doing?
Mr. Frantantoni, thank you for your comments. Is that it for
I
your
mean,
comments?
no, I'm asking
I'm going to give him
for
time, I
an
don't want to take
answer.
away from your time, though. I'm going to give you the rest of your time to speak.
Yeah, well, this is, and I also want to know, with these meetings, are we paying the secretary? Are we paying the attorney for each of these meetings?
No.
So, well, I'd like an answer. Why aren't we acting, the
Mr. Frantantoni, your
Preservation
time
Commission
is
has
up. I'll
done
let Mr. Cosarelli,
nothing
if he
in
so chooses, to
over
answer.
a decade or more.
Thank you, Mr.
I'll answer.
Frantantoni.
Are you done?
Yes, he's done.
Yeah, I guess so.
So we actually only have about 4 to 5 meetings a year, so when we do have a meeting, yes, the secretary's paid, yes, the attorney's paid. If we don't have a meeting, they are not paid.
Meeting for what? You're not getting anything done.
Thank you,
What do you
Mr.
have in the meeting? Just to
Frantantoni.
pay
It's not
the
a back and forth.
secretary and the attorney?
You asked the question, Mr. Frantantoni, you have an answer.
And we do have a list for our next
I'll make
meeting.
a final statement. It's obvious that all he's doing is holding meetings so the secretary gets paid and the
Thank you,
lawyer
Mr.
gets paid. And if I
Frantantoni. Your time
remember,
is
it's
now up.
$1,000 or
Thank you, Mr.
$1,200 a
Frantantoni.
meeting.
Your time is
So
now
it's
up.
absolutely
Mr.
ridiculous.
Frantantoni, I do need you to take your seat now.
Get rid of the commissioner if he's
Thank
not
you.
going to do anything with it.
Time is up, sir. Anybody else with public commenting? Mr. Shaw.
Good evening again, Michael Sheldon, 47th Lloyd Street. It was mentioned at the beginning of tonight's meeting that July 4th is the birthday of Belleville. It's actually a discovery made by Michael Perone, a township historian, several years ago. He found that the first historical reference to Belleville occurred in 1790, on July 4th, 1797, which means, if you do the quick calculation, this coming Monday happens to be the 225th birthday of Belleville. This is a pretty important milestone. It's unfortunate that we're not having a proper July 4th celebration, all things considered, but it should be noted that Belleville turns 225 years old as of this Monday. I wanted to say a word or two about the shared services ordinance, which is the part of resolution number 3. Your very own resolution, the second whereas, says, whereas the Uniform Shared Services and Consolidation Act authorizes and encourages local units, including municipalities and school districts, to enter into contracts for services performed by local units in accordance with the law. And this is the key part of this, for the purpose of reducing property taxes through a reduction of expenses. What's going on with this shared services ordinance, you're not reducing expenses, consolidating things. You're basically using a gimmick because the Board of Ed cannot bond. You can, but the board can't. You've come up with this artifice of a municipal garage. You're requiring $11.9 million, allowing the Board of Ed to purchase the King's Window lot. They've already done that for $775,000.
Mr. Sheldon.
I'm going to pause your time, but I do want to answer you while you're in the middle of this thought. So I know when you were on the Board of Education, a project that you were very happy about was the redo of the grade school, Claremont Field. The same exact funding mechanism where we actually bonded and when we backed the bonding for that is the same exact thing that's happening here. Yet you were very happy with that project when you were on the Board of Education. How do you square that? Did the Board of Education bond for that money? Did they go out for a referendum? Where did the money come from for that project?
Let me explain, and if I can reclaim a little bit of my time.
I promised you, you're good.
The money for that project, which was $3 million.
Essex County Improvement Authority.
Essex County Improvement
Township backed the
Authority, right.
bonds.
We got the money
We, who's we?
The Board of Ed.
Okay.
The Board of Ed managed to get that money for an interest rate of 1%.
But it didn't go to referendum like it's supposed to do,
No,
so it
but-
went around the traditional mechanism, did it not? Did it not?
Both cases, yes, they were done with bonds, but
So you were okay with the project there, therefore you're okay with the finance?
No, my concern here is that in the current financial climate,
Ah,
the interest rate that's going to be attached to this bond ordinance is going to result in the
thank
total
you.
cost
I'll
of it
just restart your time.
being astronomical. You know, even at 3.5, it's already in the framework of this bond ordinance. It's a 30-year ordinance. At 3.5%, it's going to cost another $7.8 million in interest alone, bringing the total to almost $21 million. And that's if you get 3.5%. You're going to be lucky at this point to get 3.5%. It won't be surprising to see 4.5 or 5%. And it is also just all of the other issues involved here. There's a whole other backstory. Some of you, I know my Facebook page gets followed. I've been talking extensively about all the other angles involved with this project and what may be going on across the street, the old town hall and the Elks Club. There's more to this than initially meets the eye. At the last council meeting, Mr. Del Garcio asked Mr. Iacono about the deferred school tax resolution. And during that discussion, Mr. Del Garcio correctly said, didn't the Board of Ed pass its budget back in April, which they did? And Mr. Iacono said, well, he was still waiting for the county and the Board of Ed to set their rates. So I wanted to ask through the chair, does Mr. Iacono know the rate for the Board ofEd?
okay, you're on the record with that question. When your time is up,
Well,
I'll
I'd like to
address your
know
question.
that because, according to my Oprah request, the Board of Ed sent Mr. Iacono that tax information, that rate information, and I have the signatures of both Mr. Paladino.
You already have the answer to the question you asked.
Yeah, well, I'm slowly making my way to become a lawyer, I guess. The thing here is that the tax rate information from the Board of Ed was transmitted to the town hall, and I have the official signatures here, timestamp on May 6th. So when Mr. Iacono told Mr. Del Garcio at the last council meeting that he was still waiting for the Board of Ed to let him know his rate, I don't think he was being truthful. And the last thing I want to say
You need
here...
to wrap up.
Yeah, I'm about to. With all of my conversations with Mr. Cates earlier this year when he was analyzing the illegally constituted planning board, I mentioned along the way, Mr. Mellon, your private relationship with Mr. Martino. And during extensive conversations with Mr. Cates, without missing a beat, he said, your mayor, if he has a prior business relationship with your town attorney, he cannot participate in the appointment process for Mr. Martino.
Do you need to wrap up, Mr.
I'm almost done, 10 more seconds. So I just want to go on record here, and Mr. Maybe Martino can give me the citations explaining why Mr. Cates is wrong, but according to Mr. Cates, state ethics laws preclude you from having any role in appointing Mr. Martino as township attorney.
Thank you.
Which
Your
means
time is
that
now up,
this is a
sir.
council
I'm going
of
to need you to
6.
sit down, please.
I
Thank you.
would like an answer if you are,
Anybody else
if
for
you're allowed
public
to
comment?
participate in that vote.
Mrs. Frantantoni.
Phyllis Frantantoni, Mount Prospect Avenue. Last Friday night, I was up at the stadium. My grandson was playing baseball, and I had to sit on the opposite side because they're in Bloomfield. Where it says Belleville in the hedges, you think we can maintain it? It really looks bad. And all the debris hanging over the bleachers, I had to go all the way down because all the bugs are flying around in all the debris that's up top there. So I think if we can maybe fix it a little, it'll look nice because it really does not look good. And as far as putting that notice into the tax bills, when we did back, I think maybe a year ago or a little more, we put in about the dogs, about cleaning up after them. Well, people did listen, and there's no more. They clean up after their dogs when they walk them. So maybe a notice like that will warn them about not renting illegal apartments. Thank you.
Anybody else for public comment? Mr. Fleischman?
Carmela Flynn,
Election 383 Main Street. First of all, I want to congratulate the mayor and council for the farmers market. It was a great event. Hopefully it'll be a little less windy next time. You know, tents were flying. It became a Kansas situation. And hopefully more people will, you know, come out and you'll get more vendors hopefully next time, because it was fun. I do applaud the mayor and council for all of the good that you're doing. You know, the movies, the concerts, and by the way, you do not need to see Top Gun to go and enjoy Top Gun 2. So that was a holiday weekend. So like I said, I wanted to give you guys, you know, instead of coming up and yelling and screaming, you know, actually applaud you. Yay, see, I'm good. See, I could be nice. I do have one concern though. When the street cleaners come by, do they clean out the gutters? Like, you know, in the corner, you know, where the grates, where the water
Talking about
flows.
the catch basin.
That's the word I'm talking about.
No, because they're set down.
No.
Different people.
Okay, so, because I wasn't sure who did that.
We have routine maintenance on cleaning all catch basins throughout the town, but it's not done by the street.
Okay, so when is that done?
Bobby, you want to answer that question?
It's usually every 2 weeks I have a guy go around.
Okay, because I saw one, it's on Stevens, I think, near the old Kmart property. That's a mess.
I know you use report of concern if you do it and give us that corner.
Yeah, I'll, next time I pass it, I'll send it out, because I don't remember what it is. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in public commenting? Sir, Rebecca?
Bill Millen, 16 Uncle Street.
Oh, Bill.
I'd like to know if anyone in the council would be interested in helping us with a resolution to investigate that 2014 deficit school board. Big resolution to look into that.
Noted, okay.
We will.
No, I said it's noted. Your request is noted.
Oh, because Mr. Steve Eels, who returned my call before he retired, and he said he couldn't believe the Attorney General never had the courtesy to get back to him about those certain criminal matters.
Those criminal matters, or alleged criminal matters, are now 8+ years old. I'm fairly certain if there was going to be any charges, they would have happened by now.
That's because the Attorney General covered it up.
Got it.
Isn't that illegal to cover up that?
Should be.
It is. So you aren't going to help us with that investigation. I called Senator Luis's office 3 times. She never returned my call. And she's our rep.
She is.
Yeah, she's a great.
Anybody else in public commenting? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close public comment.
Motion to close?
Second.
Motion made and seconded to close public comment. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Natori? Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg? Yes. Mayor Mellon?
Yes. Next item on our agenda is the resolution. Do we have anything to pull? I'd have to pull 4, 5, 6, 8, 10. 4, 5, 6, 8, and 10 are what I'm pulling. Anybody else? That's all the monetary retail, right?
Correct.
That's it?
Club is liquor, though, right?
Yes, it is. Normal.
Oh, and 7, I'm sorry, 7. Okay, anybody else?
Motion for consent agenda?
Second, so we're going to have a motion made and second to move the consent agenda with the exception of everything that was just called out. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg? Yes. Mayor Mellon?
Yes. Do all of the club and the planetary, so that would be 4, 5,
4, 5, 6, and 7.
and 10.
So make a motion?
Need a motion to move those
4,
together?
5, 6, and 10?
4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
Not 7.
No,
Not 7, I'm
4,
sorry.
5, 6, and 10.
Correct.
We have a motion made in second? Yes?
Second.
I think so. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli? Graziano?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Melham?
Staying. Next is resolution number 7. This is something I discussed during the mayor's report. It's a resolution letting the residents as well as the Belleville Police Department know that we support the Attorney General's recent directive, which has changed. A part of the reason, and I'm just going to read one sentence of the resolution, it says, whereas with the restriction of police pursuits, state police data showed car thefts hit an all-time high in New Jersey in 2021, and car thefts report in 2022 are 37% higher than 2021. Just put that in perspective. In 2021, all-time high, and in 2022 already 37% higher than the all-time high in 2021. Again, I don't know how or what the thinking was and why they thought that not pursuing people that are in the act of committing a crime was a good thing, or how that might not increase crime. But I'm glad to see that they've reversed themselves, and I'm glad to see that our Belleville Police Department is now armed with another tool in their arsenal to keep the public safe. And that's it.
Not for stolen vehicles?
That is stolen.
Stolen.
There are actually other reasons now they can pursue it.
But not speeding, right?
This is, no.
I think there's a certain level of crime.
Yeah, like felony or something.
Yeah.
Level.
I think that's the
What do we need, a motion?
Make a
Yep.
motion to move 7?
Yep, need a motion to
Thank
move
you.
it. We have a motion made in second. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Melham?
Yes. Next item is resolution number 8. I noticed this on Friday's draft version of the agenda. I see that Councilwoman Burke put it on. I did ask the clerk, or the manager I should say, and I don't remember discussing this at a work session or a caucus. Was this ever put on for discussion before, or just?
No, but I did discuss it with our town manager here.
Okay.
And I was just wondering why we can't all join together to do this, to have just the party, one of the best things in town.
I'm not sure if we have anybody who's going to run it, or host it, or organize it. But the other problem that I have is, I don't know who picked this date, but this date is the same date as a major township event. We have about 25 police officers on that day that will be playing the Puerto Rican State Police, that are flying in specifically to play charity softball game with us, as they did last year. So 25 police officers will be playing in that, and then the rest of the PBA union and most of the other off-duty officers would be there as well, just as they were last year. So I think if we had a work session to discuss something like this, we would be able to ask the town manager.
I did try with our manager here.
Well, in 4 years, though, you haven't put anything on for discussion, so all it would take is going to the clerk. All it would take is telling the clerk to put it on the agenda for discussion.
You don't want it anyway, so what is the difference?
Put it on for a work session.
Do you want to put it on for a work
Yeah,
session?
we'll put it on for the next work session.
Yes.
You want to table this? Well, the date's not going to work anyway, so.
Yeah, we gotta find
So
another
what
date.
date, we'll have a different date.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why we're going to put it on for a work session.
Put it on for the work
Children
session.
and everything else in the state.
Okay.
So we take
Enough is enough.
You can never vote for the date's wrong. So we have to just defeat it and reintroduce after the work session.
Okay.
I'm sure if we all join together,
Sure.
we can do it.
Yeah, okay. I'm glad to see that you are a unity builder now.
I always was, if you gave me the chance.
So, obviously then, Kelly, can you put this on for discussion at the next work session,
Yes,
which might be,
the 12th of July.
you want to do it then? Okay.
Yes.
And then if we could figure out a date, or if the council so wants to move forward, we can then do a resolution to accept the date that works.
Correct.
Okay, I'm going to then vote no on this, just because the date's not going to work no matter what. Okay, clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
No.
Graziano?
No.
Nattari?
No.
Robel?
No.
Strumelberg? Mayor Melham?
No. I think that's it. Resolution for table is going to stay. That will be the last time we see it probably.
Yes, it will.
New business, anybody?
Yeah, one thing, Mayor, new business, I didn't get a chance before, but I want to wish our exiting deputy chief good luck with his future endeavors. I know whichever you choose to do after this, you will succeed in just like you did here in Belleville. So good luck and thank you for your years of service.
Thank you. Through the chair, one thing.
Sure.
I just wanted to acknowledge the passing of firefighter Jack Willie. Yeah, Jackie passed. Jackie was I believe second generation fireman, right? His other brother Bobby was a fireman as well. And, Jeremy was a good man, so pray for his family, please.
And through the chair,
Sure.
for new segments too, Mr. Willie and his family, that house belonged to Belleville firemen up until the last cell. All of them.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Is that the one that was 3 generations ago?
yes.
Wow.
And to,
Yeah, Joe Choice and then Mark.
and to Deputy Chief Paps, lots of luck, congratulations, and you have to do me one favor when you're in town. You gotta keep wearing them tank tops. Right? That's his signature. For those who don't know, Deputy Chief, he always wore tank tops.
I think every single I know Councilman Ravel, Councilman Gazzarelli, Councilman Natari, you want to wish Papiani?
So good luck.
Usually we give it out to any opportunity for. Yeah, sure thing.
Frank, I really want to wish you the best of luck. Enjoy your retirement. How many years was it? I think they mentioned it, right?
34 now.
34. I've been doing it 41 years, and I think about retiring, and I will next year, but it's a scary thing. It's a fun thing, but a scary thing. I wish you the very, very best.
Thank you. Councilman Burke?
No, I have nothing to say.
Okay, well,
Would you join when you were 5? So thanks, Pat. Thanks for all your service. We really appreciate it.
Motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.